Hello, everybody. Welcome. Today we're doing a live demo of Pathify's CXP. So thank you for hopping in the middle of your busy day and checking out what we have to offer. I'm going to give everyone another minute or two before we hop on. All right, gonna give people maybe another 30 seconds or so. I hope wherever you are, the weather's awesome. I know it's a super hot day here in Colorado, but I hear Florida's getting drenched with rain and that everyone who's down there is super excited about it. So wherever you're at, I hope it's great. And on that note, let's go ahead and get started. So, hi everyone. My name is Julie Gummerman. I'm the Senior Sales Engineer here at Pathify. And I've been here for about 6 years, started off here doing development and support, and then worked my way over into sales. And so I've seen this product go from being a couple of modules like pages and announcements and communities, growing all the way up to the point where we can call ourselves a campus experience platform. So the question then becomes, what are we covering today? What we're covering today is going to be the overview of Pathify, the problems we solve, where we fit in your software ecosystem on campus. We're going to take a look at the platform itself and some of the features that it has that make it be called a campus experience platform. And then we'll have time for some Q&A at the end. That said, it gets a little boring talking nonstop for 30 minutes. If you want to drop questions in the chat or in the Q&A and liven things up a little bit, feel free. And if not, we'll go ahead and address those at the end. So let's talk about Pathify a little bit. So back when I started as a student, way back in the day, I'm going to date myself a little bit. I was a student from 2001 to 2005. This whole internet and technology thing for the masses was just getting started, and I had maybe 4 or 5 systems to keep track of. I had the SIS, which I didn't realize was an SIS back then, but whatever system it was that state university was using for me to register for classes and check on my grades. There was that. There was email. If I was taking summer classes, this was in the days of WebCT, and that's how I'd watch my lectures and submit my papers. Let's see, there'd be the calendaring system and the library, and that was about it. Things have gotten so much more complex over the last 2 decades since I left college. And we're going from a world where you have maybe 3, 4, 5 systems to keep track of to having to keep track of some 30 systems as a student, and you need to figure out what's due when. You have, of course, your LMS and your SIS, your information systems, any forms, solutions that you might have, the different events calendars for different departments, of course. Everyone theoretically has one and it's all the same. That's never how it actually works. So you have students who are trying to figure out where all these events are living, their tasks, their holds, restrictions, and they're trying to figure out when all of this stuff is due. It's a very complicated world out there. And Pathify is here in order to bring it all together in one unified system that actually makes sense. So from all these different systems floating around that are very good at what they do, there needs to be a way to make it so that everyone knows where they're going, how they're getting there, and when those pieces of information are due, and if anything's fallen to the cracks, they need to know about that as well. That's the niche that Pathify takes over. We're that front door to those other systems, and we're that presentation layer that's going to show off what's due where and when. That said, getting into that campus experience platform space, this is also where we're starting to offer some of this functionality on our own in its own right. The maps and wayfinding, the tasks, alerts, an AI agent, all of those, and the communities as well to get in that social aspect. So let's go ahead and talk about what this does for you as an institution, and then we'll talk about what it looks like for a student user. So as an institution, obviously bringing all these systems into one, this is a wonderful opportunity for IT teams to be able to consolidate their systems. We've had incredibly successful customers who have been able to minimize systems going from, say, 5 to 15 systems down to 1 to 5. So, for example, maybe right now you have your student portal, you might have a mobile app, you might have a staff internet. What if you could even just take those 3 systems and bring those into one system where everyone knew where it lived? That would be huge. In doing that, not only are you making your user population, your students and your staff, not only are you making their lives easier, but you're also able to whittle down on that budget. We've had stories of people who've been able to cut their IT budget by over 25% by adopting Pathify and being able to sunset some systems that are no longer necessary. Getting into things from more of a user perspective, I mentioned that you can have the same mobile app and also the same intranet and the same student portal all in one ecosystem with our full web and mobile parity. So we're white labeled. So rather than students looking for a Pathify app, what they're going to be looking for is they're going to be looking for, say, my institution name, or maybe you're calling it the name of your mascot. They're not going to know that it's a Pathify app. In fact, we've had stories of people who might be running Pathify at an institutional level as an institution, as an administrator, and then their kid goes off to college and they're working their way through their new portal platform. And then the administrator realizes, oh, hey, they're using Pathify. This is the same app that we use. And also it's a modern UI and UX. It's fully responsive, whether you're looking at things on a huge 21-inch monitor, like what we're going to be looking at here in just a second when I start demoing, or whether you're looking at it on your phone. You're going to be able to see all of the same content, and it's going to be responsive and intuitive, so you're going to know exactly how to navigate it. Furthermore, if you want to create your content using the huge second monitor, but you want it to look good on the small screen and you don't want to have to do a redeployment, you're already taken care of. As soon as it's published to go to live, users are going to be able to see that on that mobile app. Meanwhile, let's say you're on your way into the institution in the morning. I'm from Colorado. We have snow days out here. You realize, wow, nobody needs to be on the roads right now. Maybe it's not a delay, but you want to send out an announcement reminding everybody to be careful. You can do that from your cell phone. People are going to get it on their desktops. Some other things that really set Pathify apart would be the use of the roles. Of course, we have staff, students, and faculty. Most of these solutions do. That said, we can get as granular as you want. You could obviously start with those few roles, but maybe you want to bring in majors. Maybe you want to sort people by the type of student they are, by GPA, who's at risk, who's a high flyer. Maybe you're wanting to bring in who's on campus, off campus, which campus is that user on. You're able to bring all of that information in from the SIS. You can even start small and work your way up. It's all going to be automated during user provisioning, and you can create that granular content for your users. So as I'm moving through that student journey, maybe I start off in the platform as a prospect. I haven't even started classes on campus yet. I've just signed up for classes. I've been admitted. My next step is to enroll. I'm going to be in Pathify. As I lose that prospect role because I've become a student, my user journey, my experience within Pathify is going to be changing up in terms of the content I'm seeing, the tasks I'm getting, the pages I have access to, the communities I have access to, but I'm still in the same platform. That view is going to keep on changing as I go through that student journey, because if you're getting ready to graduate, your needs are different from that noob who just showed up on campus for the first time. And then you go on to graduate, your alumni users, your staff users. Again, that role is continually shifting, but you don't have to actually switch out your persona manually. Pathify knows who you are and they know what your role is on campus. That user journey is going to evolve along with you as a user. One of the other big differentiators for Pathify, along with that role specificity, would be zero-cost vendor-agnostic integrations. Of course, sometimes folks will want to build their own integrations if that's your institution. Love that. We have a program that would allow you to do that. That said, a lot of our institutions are incredibly strapped for time. IT teams are small, they're already overtasked, and now they're needing to do integrations. Well, this is another spot where Pathify enters that picture. Rather than spending hours getting your developer team to be able to build out integrations and doing the testing and all of that, and hitting those walls and those roadblocks, and then fixing them and redoing it. What if you just had an out-of-the-box integration where all you had to do was plug in your account information, enable some endpoints, and you're off to the races? This is what Pathify offers. In fact, I've sat in on proof of concepts on our integrations where someone hadn't even created service accounts for Pathify in their LMS. They were doing that on the fly, on the call. From the process of starting that service account through testing, through making a couple of changes and then getting a working widget, it took under an hour. So it's a really swift, streamlined practice that we've done a million times for all of our customers that doesn't require code and it doesn't require time, and you're not paying by the integration. If you get the CXP, if you get the hub in its most basic form, you have access to those integrations. And speaking of your developer teams, not only are those integrations free, but you have a quick implementation that doesn't require full-time devs. Unless they want to build their own integrations, they just need to be on long enough to set up that SSO integration, the user provisioning, and the widgets. And even then, for that matter, it doesn't really require devs. It requires system admins. Furthermore, we've heard rumors of some other platforms that might require, say, the using of a React build in order to even just build page content. Pathify doesn't require that. We have granular access to our different page categories for a lightweight CMS. You can get someone in there who does not do tech, who doesn't identify themselves as being a technical person. If they can write an email, they will be able to create page content in Pathify easily and prettily, as long as you give them permissions. And so if you're interested in how this actually works in the wild, we do have some success stories from you, everywhere from Grandview University, who reduced their email rate by 90%, making sure that the emails that were remaining were the ones that actually mattered and the users weren't getting spammed. We also have Franciscan University that got more online student awareness by 80%. So huge adoption rate, huge growth in student engagement. And then last but not least, the poster child for being able to actually consolidate systems would be Alabama A&M. They were the ones who were able to dramatically not only reduce their use of their budget by adopting Pathify, but they were able to really whittle away on some of the excess systems and bring everything into Pathify. And so don't just take my word for it. Let's go ahead and actually take a look at the platform. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we're going to take a look at the campus experience platform from the standpoint of a student. And by the way, it still stands. If you have questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the chat, drop them in the QA. So let's say I'm a student here. I'm a student at Pathify University, and I've just navigated my way into the platform. What I'm going to see as I go through here is I'm going to see a dashboard that is configured to my role as a student, as maybe a first or second year student. I don't see anything here related to graduation yet. I don't need it yet. However, there are some pieces that I desperately need. I need to know what my classes are so I can go ahead and scroll on through that widget and know, hey, my grades are looking pretty solid. I know I have a midterm exam online coming up. Oh, there's a guest lecturer next week. That's pretty cool. I can find out what assignments I have coming up, and I can deep link into my courses. I can also, if you have the tasks module enabled, that is an add-on, however, it's a personal favorite. Over here among both Pathify employees and Pathify customers, I can see my to-do items and interact with those. Submit project proposals by Friday. What's that? Oh, that's coming from the video game club community reviewing. Oh, I'd better go and I'd better check out that form and I'd better submit that idea. Awesome. I'm so glad to know that that's what's going on. As I'm scrolling on down, I can also interact with some other systems. Maybe I'm seeing things like the calendar and pieces that might be coming up related to my classes. I can also go in and maybe find a little bit more about what's going on. Let's say I want to join up with Interclub Council. I can go ahead and subscribe to that system or to that calendar and actually start seeing some of those events pop up. Some other things I'm seeing: holds and restrictions. Nope, attendance concerns. Yeah, I'm not a morning person. I love my class, but I haven't been showing up. I need to talk to an advisor. What do I do? I can go in and I can actually ask the AI agent, like, now that I know I need an advisor, who are my advisors? Of course, I'm a student. I have no idea. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask, and I'm going to use AI. And lo and behold, here are my advisors presented right to me. So there are some other things that as a student user I can do and I can interact with. From the standpoint of the student, they're just very happy because they can find their people, they can find what they need, they know when their due dates are. Maybe if that widget had existed, I wouldn't have known there was a hold as a student. In fact, we have a case study involving an institution that's been a Pathify customer for a while. And they had always had this issue on campus where there was one day per semester when everyone would all of a sudden find out swiftly and rather forcefully that they had a holder restriction, because they'd go to register for classes and they wouldn't be able to register because of the fact that they had that holder restriction that they didn't know about. And everyone just kind of braced themselves and knew, hey, it's registration date. We're going to get a boatload of calls. It's going to be in the hundreds. We're just going to be ready for it because it happens every semester. No surprises there. Well, they implement Pathify. They start using announcements and tasks to let people know in advance about holds and restrictions, outstanding balances. The day of registration rolled around. Everyone had girded their loins like they did every semester for this particular day. But rather than receiving 800 calls, they got like 150. And then they pulled their report. They were convinced that Banner was broken because instead of having all of these people, it had been cut down by like 7/8. And all of a sudden they realized, wait, Banner's not broken. People just knew where to go and they knew what to do. So they were able to take care of it on their own instead of having to call it and ask for support. And that's the sort of story that we love here at Pathify, is being able to make sure that life's just a little bit easier and that places such as the registrar can actually focus on registrar things rather than having to navigate a bunch of phone calls from panicked students, a situation which nobody wins. So as I'm a user, and we've talked a little bit about the being able to search in the AI agent, seeing the information I need, being able to navigate through my email, being able to find events really quickly. There's some other things that I'm going to be able to do in here as a user. So one of the pieces that we're really excited about here at Pathify would be the use of maps for wayfinding. So this is just one more way that we're able to keep users in one consolidated system rather than people having to bounce out to go to Google Maps or the Maps app on their iPhone. They're able to do this straight from Pathify. This is built, technically it's native functionality, but it's built on the Google Maps API. And what you're able to do as a user is you're able to come in and you're going to be able to find places, buildings, commons, student union buildings, offices, departmental buildings that are going to be added for me as a user so I can actually find them. So let's say I am looking for, I'm at University of Denver. By the way, it's not going to be this cluttered. Right now we're in a demo instance, so we're seeing a little bit of everything. Usually what you'd be seeing at this point is only what was specific to your university. We are single tenanted, so it's not like you're going to get cluttered with schools in Iowa and schools with London like you would in a demo instance. But I need to find my way to the admin building. Okay, let's do this. We're going to go ahead. We're going to find directions. And I am going to be heading there from, I could search other buildings, but I think I just want to come from my own location. Let's just say I'm coming from an offshoot campus in the next town down. I'm going to be able to navigate here. In fact, if I'm on my iPhone and if I hit navigate, it's going to wayfind me just like it would in a Maps app. One of the pieces that we're excited about for the rest of this calendar year is also being able to build in self-guided tours. So you can show around your parents and your prospects, maybe alumni if you're doing some scavenger hunts and whatnot on some sort of alumni weekend. And you're able to lead people through these without actually having to have a tour guide to show people around, so they can do it on their own time. So pretty sweet, pretty exciting. Another piece as a user that I might want to take advantage of is forms. So I'm just going to navigate us into forms through the left-hand menu. Just full disclosure here, again, I'm navigating like I'm old because I am old. Most students at this point aren't even going to be navigating through a left-hand menu like people in my age bracket would. They're probably actually going to be searching for things. So I'm realizing that as a student, I am about to move, as students are wont to do, and I need to make sure that I am filling out my address change form. I can go ahead and go over here. I can navigate. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to me, some folks behind the scenes who have permissions have built this out. Again, you don't have to be technical to build out forms. It's all drag and drop. It's very similar to Google Forms in terms of functionality. It's just that it looks a little better. And if I wanted to, as a user, I'm again not restricted to hunting and pecking around on a website. I know what I want. I need an address change form. I could come in here under search. And lo and behold, this is going to pop up. Some other things like this that are going to keep people within Pathify and help them find items would be things like resources, where I could go in and I could find items that are geared toward me based on role, things like student handbooks, residential life agreements, pieces like that, academic integrity statements. I can also find links to other systems if they've been placed here. This again is all searchable. Some other things, though, that I'd mentioned here would be a lightweight CMS that you don't have to be technical to build things in. I did hear a horror story about someone who had to do a React build. Every time page content needed to be changed, oh my goodness, well, I love React. I love that front-end language. It would be a kind of miserable to have someone who needs to update content and a team getting tasked with updating that content when you could make it as easy as a WYSIWYG editor. So as a student, I can come over into these quick link capsules. These can be external links. They can also be internal links. Let's say I've heard about this thing called the Math Lab. Again, as a student, I'm probably not actually going into this quick link capsule. I'm probably looking it up here, but we're just going to roll with my old self and humor me for today. So I'm going to come into Math Lab, and over here, I'm in our lightweight content management system. For a student, it's great. If they're looking for content through Pathify's search functionality, if they're looking for content in the AI agent, they just need information and they need it fast, they can find it. They're happy. What they don't know, and it doesn't really matter for them, is that whatever department is running this content is happy too. Because what they're able to do is they're able to, if they come in under edit page because they have those permissions, it's a WYSIWYG editor. It's no different than writing an email. If you're a little more tech savvy, like you may have picked up earlier, I was in the development space for a while. Do I go in and do I write HTML sometimes when I'm building content? Absolutely yes, because I feel like it and I like it and I can. But you don't have to. You can come up with this functionality. Again, there's no rocket science or voodoo magic here. It's all just a WYSIWYG editor and resizing content and bringing in things like pictures and tables and outlines. Totally doable. If anyone ever wants to change that content, they need to do an update. Totally okay. They come back in here. I know that one of the big buzzwords right now also is accessibility, how important it is to make sure that whether you're sighted, whether you're reading on a screen reader, that you're able to actually fully access the content. And this is a biggie for Pathify because we do have a customer who's one of the deaf and blind universities. So a lot of their users are on screen readers. We have a built-in accessibility checker on each of our pages that's going to allow a permissioned user to come in and see if there are accessibility issues. So let's say we have a picture that doesn't have alt tags. We have some funky color contrast. We have tables that aren't set up appropriately, or call to action buttons without the proper ARIA labeling. This accessibility checker is going to point these out to us before they go live. Just another note, though, about that accessibility piece. We are WCAG 2.2 AA compliant. If you want a copy of our VPAT, we can get that to you. That said, we have releases every 3 weeks, and we have a accessibility officer who will actually go in and check content prior to releases, just to make sure that all of those best practices for accessibility on screen readers, to make sure that we're following all of it. Every so often, something gets into the wild because, as you all know, people use technology differently than what people might have intended during the development cycle. Sometimes things get past our accessibility officer. Those pieces become the top items for the next release. So that would be the bulk of our functionality. We have about 3 more minutes really quickly. I do want to touch on tasks. I personally love tasks. If it doesn't exist as a to-do item somewhere on a Post-it or a task board, it doesn't get done because it doesn't exist in my brain. This is your solution for people like me. There are a couple of different ways that as a user, I can go ahead and I can interact with these. In fact, let me come back in as Julie's student really quickly. So as we saw earlier, I can have tasks that are trickling up from communities. Maybe I have tasks like this that I've set for myself. Maybe I have tasks that are sequential, that have been built in behind the scenes at the beginning of the semester that have been assigned to me at a specific time. Or maybe I'm seeing ad hoc standalone tasks that have either been created for me or imported from a third-party system. The important piece here is that I always know what's going on, what's due when, and where to go to complete that task. And then the last piece that we haven't quite looked at yet would be communities. Communities is available not only as part of the CXP as an add-on, it's also available as a standalone. So it's going to allow your clubs and orgs to interface and interact with each other, doing what clubs and orgs do best on campus and getting student engaged. It can also be used quite heavily as a staff intranet because it has everything from discussion boards and group chats all the way over to self-contained events, announcements, tasks, forms, and pages. So an incredibly versatile module. So we have about 1 minute and 40 seconds left to go. I'm going to go ahead and start signing off. If you want to reach out to me because you have more questions, maybe you have something specific that I haven't talked about yet. Maybe you have a specific use case for your campus that you want to get covered. Feel free to reach out to me at pathify.com. I love talking to people about their specific use cases, whether those are technical or product or people related. I'd love to get in touch with you. Feel free to reach out. And we'll make sure that everyone on this call, if they're so interested, gets a copy of this recording so you can pass it around. So thank you so much. Happy Tuesday, and I hope to talk to you more in the future. Thanks all.